Hey, what's going on, guys? Hope y'all are having a fantastic weekend. We thought we'd pop in here and just have some fun, talk about audio, home theater, two channel, as well as give you some updates on MWAVE. So, first and foremost, happy Easter, everyone. Ryan, how are you, man?
I'm doing all right. How are you? I had a fantastic Easter so far.
Yeah, it was super cool, man. We did yesterday. We've had my technically it's my wife's niece uh
Mhm.
down from Vermont. So she came and stayed with us for about a week. She'll be here till Wednesday, and so we took her to the beach, what, 2 days ago? Dude, I got some sun, and I was under like, the canopy the whole time, man, because 'cause I'm white, man. I'll burn big time.
But you're in Florida and you're talking about white, and it's
Yeah.
30 degrees here in Kansas City, so I don't know what you're worried about.
Dude,
I
it's
don't know what
hot
you're
as
worried about or complaining about.
dude, it is hot as can be down here, dude.
You're
We
gonna
play
come here in July, and I'm gonna be like a ghost. You'll be like, Ryan, did you die? Is it really you?
Oh, super cool, man, but it's been a fun weekend. Like I said, we went up to the beach and, just had a good time with my youngest daughter and my niece, and then Jessica, and, it was down there most of the day. It's beautiful water there. So we went a little bit further south than we typically go, and
Hmm.
so kind of the further south in Florida you go, the kind of the prettier the water gets and the clearer it gets. So it's about a 2-hour drive, so not bad.
Now, before we go
So,
any further,
yeah, man.
how is our mic balance?
Yeah,
How
let
are
us
we sitting as far as equal balance
yeah,
from
let us know in the chat. Is our volume kind of equal? I'm not able to tell, like I can't hear my voice in comparison to Ryan, so I need to kind of
Well, I
figure out
screwed up getting
how
in
I
here
can.
anyway because I bought a battery for my camera, which I think you
Mhm.
did for your camera too,
I did.
and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I didn't try. I didn't try and get it to work until right before. So they say I'm a little
Yeah.
low. Let
Okay.
me.
Yeah, he was a little low last time
Is that
too,
any
so
better? Keeping up with the Joneses.
how does that
Turn
sound?
myself up.
So I'm louder than Ryan. All right, keep us
Do I need to go louder?
let us know. Ryan's a low
Low
talker right
talker.
now.
All right. Well, we can go higher.
Okay, one click too low.
I went a little bit higher.
How's that? That
Better.
sound better? Well, cool. While we're doing that, Ryan's mic's still a little low. Let me say hi to some folks in the chat. Larry, good to see you. How do you pronounce that? Cacsec? I think that's it. Good to see you tonight, man. Hope you're having a great weekend. Dwayne, Grayson, Life of Bliss is in the house. He's working, but we won't tell anybody.
Yeah. Let's do one more mic check here. Is that any better? I've
Yeah, you
put it
sound
up
louder
enough.
on my end.
Well,
Let
that's
us know in
good.
the chat. Who else is over here? Keeping up with the Joneses. Tristan, always good to see you, my man. Who else we got over here? Sock 1100. Dustin, good to see you. Talent. Sock is in the house, folks. What is up, brother? Good to see Tony. Tony said he's got some upgrades, man. So he's been working on his theater.
Upgrades. What the hell
Yeah.
left does he have to upgrade?
He's got a pretty baller setup, dude.
What else do you need,
Pretty baller
Tony?
setup. Yeah. Well, he
Is that,
upgraded his projector. I think he's added some more, what do you say, acoustic panels,
yeah, he's doing
or
that foam, if
acoustic
I remember
treatments.
right.
Mm-hmm. So, and then he got, I think he got some upgrades to his surrounds. So yeah, man, his is a pretty baller setup. Mark, good to see you, man. What's going on? Cool. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll star them and try to get to as many of those as possible. So we're going to try to do this kind of more often. Maybe we can get to the point where we just pick a day and like day and a time. That way you guys can know. Right now, we're just kind of figuring out what
Or what they will
schedule.
avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Depends on how much they like us. But we are going to try and do these a little bit more often with different topics. I think topic centric for the home theater community is really important.
Sure.
And it's the more we can impart knowledge and learn ourselves, I think the better everyone is. Because I learn a lot just having these community streams. So it's not just having chat and everybody else learn. I learn just like everyone else going through all of this.
Sure. Yeah, Grayson, as far as being able to kind of check levels, that's on my end. The way I've got it set up, I literally do not even hear my voice in my monitors.
I don't either.
So I hear Ryan, but I can't tell where my voice is in comparison to him. So that's just where I've got to learn better how to kind of integrate my headphones into. I've got a Fosrite, forget what they even call it, like an audio interface. But a lot of times when I use that, I've got, and maybe I just got the wrong adapter for that, but it didn't work out so well. So I just usually plug into my computer monitor or computer speakers. I've just got a headphone jack. So I think,
Well, I think we're fine. Once we get it
Yeah.
dialed in, we should be good.
yeah,
I haven't heard anybody complain anymore since I raised my volume. I went from 100 to 175 at a maximum of 200. So
Okay.
hopefully, that
okay.
gets
If
us
he's still low, just let
where
us
we
know.
need to be.
Yeah, definitely, man. So it's been quite a fun month. I figure we'll give some updates to MWAVE first, and then we'll kind of jump into the topic for tonight. I know we'll be talking about some calibration, importance of that, and hopefully we'll learn from each other. Mic check, mic check. You got it, man. Super cool. So, a couple of things that we've been working really hard on in trying to just continue to add value to MWAVE, which is the Midwest AV experience. If you guys aren't familiar with it, we're going to be doing a show July the 22nd through the 24th this year. It's going to be an annual event. Now, this is something that Ryan and I, when I was up there a couple months ago, we just started brainstorming. We had the
Was it only
projector.
a couple months ago?
It really was, dude.
Man.
Really was. So I was at his home. We were doing the projector shootout, which is just something he wanted to do. And just to kind of make it clear, this is not, there's a group called the Kansas City Group, or Kansas City Crew, as I like to refer them to. This is not like sponsored by them. It's not endorsed by them. They're just good friends of ours. But this is just something that he and I just decided, you know what would it look like if we tried to create an event where home theater enthusiasts and 2-channel enthusiasts could come for a weekend, maybe like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Let's just hang out, man. Let's have some fun. I had such a good time at Ryan's home, getting to know the people that he had invited that weekend. And dude, it was just so fun. I'm like, Ryan, we need to like do this like consistently. I love consistency. And so we just started brainstorming and really just dreaming, to be honest with you. Like, what would that look like to create an event from scratch? And so we're pumped about it. I think it's going to be super cool. But we've got some brands that are going to be there. So I'm going to flip over to the website. So as I said, we've got the date set July 22nd through the 24th. Would love for you guys to come out. It's in Lawrence, Kansas. And so we've got 110 tickets left. We are looking at adding a few more VIP tickets. So we'll have some information on that. If you're interested in kind of all the updates, definitely go up to the very top where it says newsletter and just subscribe, because I'll send out weekly newsletters, usually either once a week or once every 2 weeks, just kind of giving you some updates. But 2 areas that we've added, we've had several new sponsors come on, and so we're super grateful for them, because that's what helps us to be able to put on an event like this. So we've got our 2 premier sponsors, RTJ, which I'm super pumped. So you guys know I have JTR speakers in my theater room. I guess it's been, goodness, it might have been
a little bit.
It might have even been like a year and a half ago that I first heard JTR. So a lot of you guys had shared in my comments, Michael, if you like clips, you really need to check out JTR. And I'm like, who is JTR? And then they were like, hey, if you really like SVS, you need to check out JTR. Their subs are phenomenal. So I'm like, well, who's this JTR group? And so I reached out to Jeff, and I just told him, I said, man, I've been hearing a lot about your stuff. And so he sent me his subwoofers, and I'm like, holy cow, these are like next level stuff. And I told Jeff, I would love to hear your towers one day. And he's like, well, we could make that happen, right? I'm like, what do you mean? He said, well, I mean, I'd be willing to fly you up here. I'll take you over to Tony's house, which is SOWK in the chat. We can go to Scott Newby's house and then even my house. And then I'll take you by the, our headquarters, let you see kind of what we've got there and just show you what goes into making JTR. And that weekend literally just kind of blew my mind as to what the potential of a home theater could sound like, and what that experience was. And I'm like, man, this is incredible. And so RTJ is the same owner, Jeff Permanian, and Jeff started a new company called RTJ. And basically it's kind of a dealer model. Is that how you would put that, Ryan? You know, it's going through
integrators and dealers.
Yeah.
But I'd also say that it's kind of the next evolutionary step almost from what Jeff was doing with JTR, especially with the fronts. I mean, these fronts are...
That tower is ridiculous. It's over 7 feet tall.
They're 80 some inches tall, and I think they're pushing 500 pounds.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it's a considerable amount of speaker.
Yeah.
And Jeff is sending out these early so that I can get acquainted with them. And I already informed my wife that they're going to be in my living room. So I was thankful.
What did she say about that?
She rolled her eyes. I mean, she just knows what's coming, and she knows. I told her, hey, I just want to put them in the living room because I don't want to move them down to the basement.
Sure.
And bring them back up for the show. Like, I don't want to move them and then bring them out for the show. I just want to put them in the living room.
Yeah.
So that's where they're going to go. But I'm thankful that I didn't get served divorce paperwork when I informed her of that, because these things are not small. I mean, Jeff with JTR already, speakers were enormous, and these just take it to the next level. I mean, it doesn't look like it from the images, but those top and bottom woofers are 18 inches. Yeah. So these things are not small. And those little mids around the horn are 10
look like
drivers.
Yeah.
Those aren't small. I mean, those are the woofers. Those are bigger than most woofers in towers.
Yeah. The horn alone is what, 20? I think the horn alone is like 23 inches. Yeah. That's massive, man.
Just all around an enormous speaker. So I'm really excited that Jeff came on as a premier sponsor. I know Tony will be out helping Jeff with JTR and RTJ. So I'm really excited to see those guys again. Do you know if Jeff's decided if he's coming?
I don't know. I hope he is. So I'm gonna hit him up like,
going on.
Yeah, he's building a house, but we're gonna try to convince him. I'm like, Jeff, you need to be here. But it might be one of those things where he doesn't know until like the weekend. He's like, hey, Michael, I'm on my way, and he's gonna hop in a car and drive. So
it's a long drive from South Carolina, though.
Yeah. He said it'd take him about 12 hours, maybe. So it'd be a pretty good hike. But he's like, oh yeah, man, I'll do that in a day, no problem. Like just straight. So
I'd rather fly. But then our next premier sponsor is Martin Logan.
Yeah, dude.
Who I have had a love affair with Martin Logan forever. And I have actually never heard their Neoliths. So for anybody that doesn't know, Martin Logan is a electrostatic speaker manufacturer, came out of the 70s in Lawrence, Kansas. And there's some story behind where that came from, but they've just kept that same mentality and ideology throughout their entire manufacturing process from then until now. And they believe that electrostatics are the way to go. So we're originally, when we started this whole MWAVE and we were brainstorming and kicking around ideas, we really just were going to have the Neoliths and possibly the Statements be the speaker that we were going to be able to compare amplifiers and DACs and cables and all this stuff to. Well, now it's become, what all speakers can we compare and allow people to hear side by side by side? So there's going to be virtually nowhere else in the country, probably the world, where you're going to be able to have the RTJs right next to the Neoliths, right next to the Martin Logan's new Statement 40 XW line arrays. We're going to bring out, for anybody that has seen Jonathan's room from Youth Man, we're going to put his line arrays up there. And the reason those are going to be there, they're not on the same price point, but it's because they're in a different level of dispersion, which gives people a totally different listening experience. And that's what we're really trying to offer people. We're trying to offer people not what we think is the best speaker, because that's very, very subjective. We're
100%.
trying to give people the opportunity to make decisions for themselves through various different types of speakers, whether it be horn drivers, line sources, dynamic normal speakers, to something like these JBL line arrays. I mean, there's a multitude of different things, and we just want to make sure and try and provide people with as much experience as they can get to be able to make decisions as best they can when they go and make their own purchases
Sure.
for their own home theaters. So that's
Yeah, and you may not even be even remotely interested in buying $100,000 pair of speakers, or in RTJ. I think they're about what, like 10 grand for the stack. Is that right?
So for that stack,
Roughly.
Per stack, well, per pair, I think is 33 to 35,000.
Okay, so 15. All right.
In there.
So that may be like way out of your budget. And again, we're not having this event so you can come out and go, okay, I need to buy that. To me, really, it's about just what kind of experiences can we create that are completely unique? Where are you ever going to get the opportunity? I mean, I know I've never heard the Martin Logan Neelas. I mean, I saw them once at a trade show, but I didn't even get a chance to hear them. So they're beautiful speakers. Holy cow, they're gorgeous. Yeah, especially when they paint them, man. I love that red.
Well, and they're all custom ordered, so it's they don't hold these in stock.
But these are even different types of speakers. I mean, you got a horn-loaded speaker, you got an electrostatic speaker. They're going to sound completely different. And I had somebody mention, they're like, well, if you're going to be comparing speakers, you at least need to have almost like a contender. And I don't know which one they were saying they thought was better. And that really doesn't matter to me. It's not about, okay, who's going to get this MWAVE trophy at the end of the weekend.
There's no trophy.
Yeah. We
thought about doing that, but it didn't make a lot of sense at the end of the day. Yeah. And the reason we're having the manufacturers, at what Michael was saying, it can be very disheartening to say, oh, well, it's just going to be $100,000 and $50,000 speakers that are there. And that may well be true for the most case, but the manufacturers are really just bringing the best they have. Mm-hmm. And people need to remember that those best start to trickle down into everything else that they offer. And the experiences that I have, at least with Martin Logan and even listening to JTR stuff, is the sound signatures can be very similar, even in their way less expensive options. Mm-hmm. It's just the bigger ones do it at a much larger scale. So scale is really where these come into when you're trying to do a bigger room, when you're trying to do more bass, when you're trying to do more, that's when these things come in. But if you're just sitting there in your theater, you can get very similar listening experiences with a much cheaper option. So don't think that we're just trying to get people in and say, oh, we want Martin Logan to sell 5 pairs of Neelas this week. Yeah. We're just trying to get people experience to these different technologies and what these different types of speakers do to sound in the listening environment.
Yeah. And one thing I've always tried to encourage people is that, because I get questions all the time. Which speaker should I buy? I'm looking at this and this. And I tell them, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you what your ears are going to like. And I don't want to try to convince you to buy a speaker because I like it. I've always liked horn speakers. I like clips. Some people think they sound like trash and they're not audiophile quality. And I don't care what you think, because I'm not trying to impress you. I'm trying to find a sound that my ears prefer. I've seen the same things in the comments of Ryan's home theater. And they're like, they don't like Martin Logan because they're not great for home theater. I'm like, well, guess what? He didn't build it for you. He built it for him and his family and his friends to enjoy.
Well, let's face it, this was not built for my family. This was built for me. Let's be honest here.
But the reality is that you don't have to try to. I'm not here to please you. I didn't sell my Klipsch La Scalas that I've had for 7 years and upgraded JTR because I was trying to impress anybody. I went and experienced them, heard them with my own ears, and went, holy cow. Okay, this is next level stuff. And that's why I went that direction. And so we're just trying to provide some different opportunities. I would love eventually one day, again, this is year one with this. I would love for one day for you to be able to hear a bunch of different speakers.
Yep.
A bunch of different systems from budget, because we realize not everybody's got a $30,000 budget, for speakers. And so we want you to be able to hear that. But the reality is, we've got to develop a relationship and some credibility in this market, and brands have to learn to trust us. And that's why I told Ryan, I want this to be the best that we can do this year. because that means that the brands that have partnered with us, our sponsors, they're wanting to be, be a part of it again next year because they see the value that it brings to the community.
Right.
Our desire isn't for this to be a CEDIA replacement or a CES replacement or an Axpona replacement. I don't want another trade show. There's plenty of those out there and that you can go to enjoy and I can go to enjoy. There are going to be some elements of that, but I want it to be something unique. And so that's really kind of what we're trying to create with this. But we've got several new sponsors. I'll just run through those briefly. So we've got Benchmark's going to be there. MadVR is going to be there. Elite Screens are providing some 150-inch screens. So we're excited about that. Our last projector shootout in Kansas City, we had 100-inch screens that they supplied. It was great, but a lot of people were saying, I really wonder if there would have been a bigger difference, say, between the BenQ and the latest greatest from JVC, if we were talking on, 150-inch, and there probably would have been
when the RS420 was beating the NZ8,
Yeah. So
a lot of that came down to screen size.
So we want to see, okay, if we have bigger screens, do we see a difference? And, even with the shootouts or these comparisons, again, it's not so much to figure out, okay, which brand is the better one. Again, we're trying to provide some experiences that you can physically see in Epson. You may look at it and go, dude, that's plenty bright enough for my taste and my room. And it fits my budget. It's got a beautiful image. I don't have the budget for a $15,000 projector. We want to give you those experiences because, again, where can you go to put a high-end projector up against a budget-friendly projector? I don't know many places you can do that. And so by doing that, maybe in your brain, you're thinking, dude, BenQ, that's perfect for me. Or you may say, you know what? I really see the value in that JVC. And yes, it's going to be a stretch for my budget. So I'm just going to save up a little bit longer. I'm going to put aside some money. I'm going to sell a couple of kids or a kidney or whatever you got to do.
Well, I think it also provides an opportunity, people being able to come and see 8 and 10 projectors right next to each other in an A/B comparison while being blind. Provides the opportunity for people to really figure out what they value in an image. Because so often people will go into something and it's all biased for subjectivity, and people think they like something, but don't realize that there's bias throughout their entire test. And that's really not fair in order to create an objective comparison and come out with objective results. So something like this, and people were blown away by what they liked in the January shootout that we did when we did this. And that was in a all white room with some velvet. But the lead center is fully light controlled, velvet everywhere on a 10,000 foot stage. So there's going to be virtually no light reflections. And we're just taking it to the next level with bigger screens. Kaleidoscape's going to be there as a source. So we're trying to eliminate as many variables as possible and just give people the best. So you can't go back and say, well, you didn't use the best source material that would have done something X, Y, or Z.
Absolutely.
So that's really what we're trying to do. But I'll let you go back for the sponsors.
Yeah, no, we're all good. And we're glad to have OSD Audio, Emotiva, as well as SVS. They value what we're doing and what we're offering to the community. And they've even offered some giveaways that I'll share with you here in a second. So we're really pumped about that. And so I'm continuing to reach out to brands daily, telling them about the event, getting on phone and Zoom meetings with them and sharing with them the vision that we've got and really just seeing if they'd be interested in partnering with us. So in reference to the giveaways, a couple of things they're going to be giving away at the event. Actually, I don't even have Valencia on there, but Valencia is a gold sponsor. So they're going to be giving away one of their Tuscany luxury seats. And so we'll have one there at the event so that you can sit in it, you can check it out, you can feel it. And then at the end of the event, we're going to do a giveaway. And one of you at the event is going to not walk away with it. Unless you live locally, we'll load it up in your truck and you can take it with you. But if you live in another state, we'll ship it over to you. Emotiva is giving away one of their basics A2 amplifiers. I reviewed the A3, fantastic little amplifier. It's very budget friendly. It's not the most expensive amp by any means. It's not the highest quality, but I think they offer a huge value. They're one of our silver sponsors. And then we've got a couple other giveaways that we'll be giving away during the event. OSD is going to be providing their XA 3200. So we'll be using that in the shootout along with the OSD. I'm sorry, the
Emotiva.
Yeah, the Emotiva amplifier. So that'll be part of the shootout. Can you hear a difference in a blind test between maybe an OSD and maybe a higher end amplifier? And then SVS is giving away one of their, you're going to get the choice, either an SB 2000 or a PB 2000. And so we're super grateful for our sponsors, as well as those that are willing to do giveaways for the event. So we're continuing to add stuff every single day. And so definitely
how much we've added.
Yeah. And so the easiest thing and the best thing I tell people, just join the newsletter on the website. You can get there by going to midwestaveexperience.com. Just go up to newsletter, subscribe. I'm not going to spam you. I'm the one that actually sends those out. And like I said, I'll send one out usually about once every 2 weeks. Just as new things come up, I'll probably be sending one out probably on Monday, just kind of talking about our sponsors and so just kind of giving folks an update to let them know what's happening. And so we're super, super excited about that. So Ryan, we're going to talk a little bit about calibration, like why that's important. Go ahead, man.
Well, I don't think it's just calibration. I think it's setup, acoustic panels, really everything that people have a tendency to forget about. People are always gung-ho. I'm going to buy the newest and greatest equipment, but if you don't set it up right, or you don't do it justice, it's really not going to do a whole lot. Like there was a dealer meeting that I went to a while ago, several weeks ago for Focal. And that's something else, another set of speakers that may be there. We may get the Contas. I don't know. They hasn't been solidified yet, but we're trying to get as many options for people to be able to hear as possible. But that's beside the point. So I went, and it was a demonstration for several different speakers for Focal. And we were sitting down, and it was amazing what people thought. And I'm not an end-all, know-all, end-all, be-all person. I'm wrong a lot of times. But it was amazing what people thought was a good idea for speaker placement. There was a point where the Contas were actually towed out like that. Try doing it on the cameras a little bit different. But they were broadcasting away from the main listening position. And the people that went up there, and it wasn't Focal that did this, people that went up there, they were moving them, and I was just kind of watching, and I didn't critique anybody, but it was amazing what people thought, and there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe they like the sound phasing and things of that nature that brings with it. But it was also really amazing to see having somebody else do that while I was sitting in the main listening position, what that did to the sound. And how dramatically the sound changed. So that's really just an indication of what I think a lot of people forget. People have a tendency to put looks over function a lot of times, and wife approval factor comes into that very, very heavily. Well, I don't want my speakers all the way to the end of a table. Well, I want them pushed up all the way against the TV stand, or I want them pushed into corners, and so on and so forth. And I totally understand that some people are in unsurmountable situations like that. It's a war sometimes going in with your spouse, trying to figure out what you want, and real life first. I mean, hobbies are great. This is always great to be able to do home theaters and stuff, but in no means am I encouraging somebody to go in, totally wreck their marriage by saying, babe, speakers going here, and that's it. That is what's happening. No questions. You can go sit in a corner. Speakers going there. So I don't encourage anybody to do that, but
well, I don't think it'd work out real well. Wow. Tony says, get a new spouse. Yikes.
Well,
yikes.
Maybe. But this is something that I see time and time again that people forget. Then moving on from positioning and stuff, acoustic treatments, man. I think they're so, one, misunderstood, and two, totally underutilized. It is amazing. And I've had demo after demo after demo of people coming in to listen to speakers, and they're like, man, your room is so quiet. Like I can't hear any echo. And you may not even realize that you hear an echo in a room until it's not there anymore. You're like, man, this room sounds totally different. But remember that echo is reflections bouncing off of surfaces and coming back to your main listening position at different times. Ryan's voice sounded a bit quieter, but it's back to normal. It was probably just a limiter or something like that, Grayson.
When you got loud, it got quiet.
I got a little excited.
You clipped a lot when I did your home theater tour. I'm like,
I know.
Man, I had to bump you now. He gets pumped up, man.
I get pumped up.
I like energy.
Dynamic microphone's great because I can yell into it. And I'm not.
I like energy.
But that was StreamYard clipping me there. But acoustic panels are another really big one. People are putting home theaters on concrete floors, which I totally get. If that's all you can do, I totally understand. But that's going to cause reflection mayhem in your room.
Yeah, Ryan's he's got a great setup. He's going to put major bucks and horn-loaded speakers, put it in a room, 20-foot ceilings, all wood floors everywhere. It's going to be great, right?
That's the epitome.
So probably not. Probably not the ideal situation. And so room matters. It really, really does.
It does.
The truth is that a lot of people don't have the luxury of having a dedicated room like you've got, like I've got. And so they're working in environments that they have. Maybe it's a living room, maybe it's a bedroom. And I get it. Sometimes acoustic panels are not the number one thing that you can do. You know, you're not, my spouse isn't going to let me put acoustic panels in our living room, even though our living room sounds horrendous acoustically, because there's a lot of hardwood surface. Even though I got a big thick rug, that's really the only thing that's absorbing anything. Everything else, I've got flat ceiling, I've got flat front wall, I've got it's a pretty open floor plan, but even that, man, it's just a big echo chamber. So it's definitely not ideal, but definitely there are some things that you can do even naturally that'll help tame some of those, whether you put down a really thick rug or add some thick curtains to your windows, or even just putting up bookshelves and things like that. That can be a natural diffuser in your room to kind of help scatter the sound. And so there's definitely some things that you can do there. But I remember when I was building my theater room, so I started about 15 years ago when we bought this home, and I was kind of like you. You were talking earlier about upgrading. And so I wanted a better receiver. So I saved up and found a good deal on a receiver. And then I wanted bigger subwoofers. And so I got more subwoofers. And at one time I had one subwoofer, and then I got a second one. Then I got a third one. Then I got a fourth one. And these had 15-inch subwoofers. They were active.
Got to collect them all.
Yeah. So, I'm throwing stuff in the room, and it's getting louder, but it didn't necessarily get better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just adding more noise and more reflections. And I always thought, I don't know why, but I always thought acoustic panels are just one of those things that's kind of like snake oil. Like, they're selling you boxes with, acoustic treatment or foam or whatever insulation inside a little frame.
Why do I need any more?
Yeah, I just didn't see the value in it. And then I don't know what clicked, but I began to realize that, sound comes at you directly from the speaker. And then you also have sound that gets reflected off of hard surfaces in your room, like your sidewalls.
Well, really any surface. It just depends on how much is absorbed.
Yeah. And so if sound is coming at me and my brain hears it, and then a fraction of a second later, it hears a reflected sound, your brain goes, what the heck did I just hear? It gets almost like confused. And so it's less intelligible. Like your brain can't interpret that. It sounds confusing. And so once I added acoustic panels, fortunately I had a neighbor. I was over at his house one day. He new to the community, and we were outside and we were talking, our hobby is an audio. And I'm like, really? It's like, you got some speakers? He says, yeah. And so he invited me into his home, and he had a cool little setup in his living room. And as I was leaving, and he had all these acoustic panels in his living room on the wall. Like most people can't do that, but he did. He's like, I don't care, I'm putting them up. And as we're leaving, I see a bunch of these acoustic panels in his garage. I'm like, hey, dude, what are you doing with those? He's like, those are some extras. Like, you want to sell them? And he said, I'll think about it. So he texted me that night and said, man, he said, I'm not doing anything with them. He said, I'll sell them to you for $11 a piece.
Youth man deal.
I was like, heck yeah. So I began to put them in my room, and I only had like 6 panels on the wall. I think I had 2 on the right wall, 3 on the left, none on the back wall. And I had a couple of extra. And so I think I put one behind my screen, another one behind my screen. Guys, it made a huge difference. I mean, a huge difference. And before I did it, and here's what I not challenge, but I tell people to do: go in the center of your room and just clap one time really loud and just listen. And if you hear this boing, 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 that is not good. And that's exactly what I had. It's called a slap echo. And it was horrendous. And so if all of that sound is just bouncing around, what happens when you add 5 speakers, 7 speakers, 9 speakers? In my case, now I've got 11 speakers and 2 subwoofers. That's a lot of sound bouncing around my room. So you've got to stop some of those. And so acoustic treatment makes a huge, huge difference. And so if you've got that slap echo, you really need to consider, okay, what can I do in my room to kind of tame some of these? And I've done some home theater tours where immediately, like in the interview part or as we're talking, I mean, as soon as the video starts, you're like, oh, snap. That dude has some serious echo in his room. He's got great speakers, got a beautiful projection screen, but man, the room is really echoey, and it's just going to degrade the quality and the experience that you get in your room. So I 100% agree. You really, really need to consider some type of acoustic treatment in your room if you've got, some massive echoes like I did.
Well, and to your point, when you were talking about all the speakers and stuff, people have a tendency to try and solve things with just more equipment, better equipment, which is what I think all of us have done.
Makes sense.
Some point. But in a lot of cases, you can end up getting a much better result with your current equipment, even if it's really old, by one, acoustically treating the room, which sometimes isn't even a cost measure, right? You can do it with blankets. Hell, if you're really hard up for a budget, use a mattress and just see if that helps. Anything that absorbs out there to absorb frequency. A mattress is an awesome bass absorber in some cases, depending on what it's made of. But it doesn't have to be a really expensive venture, especially when you're like Michael going after the youth man deals, getting acoustic panels for $11 a piece. I mean, good Lord.
That's good, dude.
So then taking that a step further, you move into the realm of calibration, and calibration can really take mediocre equipment and make it sound great. In a lot of cases, depending on how far down the road you go. And there can be bad calibrations. There can also be fantastic calibrations. It just depends. And somebody was asking about bass, if I remember right, I think it was a little bit further up, about what does Odyssey do with your subwoofer levels. And I can say from using Odyssey and Anthem and Dirac, it almost always, at least to my preference, undersets the levels. And I always end up having to boost them quite significantly. To me, especially in the bass, my room, and I don't know if that's common with Odyssey, but I know the bass typically after calibration is quite anemic in my room. Like literally, and I bump it up about 5 to 6 dB after calibration. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm getting that kick me in the chest kind of bass that I'm looking for. And it's still balanced. It's not like overwhelming to where all you're hearing is bass. But so sometimes it is, measurement, but then on top of that, it's preference too. Yeah, I agree there. Chris says Odyssey personally is ideal for distances. All of the calibration tools are fantastic for distances. That's really a place where they shine. Something that they can get wrong outside of bass, and it's not necessarily that they get wrong. I think people just inherently like more bass. I think I'm probably 10 dB hot in my room, which is not uncommon. So I have Dirac, and are you on Odyssey? Is that
I'm on Odyssey? Yeah.
So I think it goes across all of them in all honesty. So something else that they can screw up, at least something Dirac has screwed up in my room, is it can get the levels slightly wrong for different speakers when it comes to imaging. So your image can skew left or right based on a few dB on one side or the other. And Dirac, at least, is notorious for doing that, where it likes to set my right front low, and then my image skews to the left. And then all I have to do is go in and boost my right front just a little bit, and it pulls the image back into the center. So calibration's awesome, but it is not without faults. So you still gotta, what's the word I'm looking for? You got to massage it in ways after you get the results, and make sure that you're giving the calibration the best possible scenario in order to deliver you quality results. Because if you're going into a loud room and you try and run a calibration with people talking and stuff, it's just not going to work very well. But if you're in a quiet room, you know where the mic positions should go. You can do that mic position consistently. So if you ever run more than one calibration, you know you're trying to do it in the same positions. Consistency is really key.
Sure.
Brian Kramer says calibration is a trust but verify step. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a really good way to actually put it. It does a lot of things really, really well, but there are times where it struggles. And I'll also say that it can be hugely beneficial to actually do a little bit of EQ before you do the calibration, because things like Dirac and Odyssey, for that matter, can only correct so much. They're limited because you don't want them correcting so far, because you're going to run into issues in and of itself if you go down that road. So a lot of times it can be beneficial to do some EQ before you run the calibration to try and take a little bit of the stress away from the calibration software and trying to fix things. And I think everybody's going to can benefit from calibration. I don't know that there's a perfect room, at least in most.
And ultimately, you want to get as much done like without calibration, through acoustic treatment, through, if you're designing a room, building the room right to begin with. And there's some great resources online on like what are good proportions, not proportions. Yeah, I guess it's still proportions. Like it's not really aspect ratio, but you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's proportions. So far wide versus so far deep. So there's definitely some resources out there that can help you with that. But if you can kind of get the room right, then the calibration doesn't have to work as much. And think about this. If you've got, like, prime example, let's say acoustically in your room, you've got a 15 decibel dip in, say, 50 hertz. So you got like this massive chasm. And so your
software ain't going to save you there.
Yeah, a Trinov, a $15,000 processor is not going to be able to fix this. Okay.
Nope.
So the better you can get your room acoustically, the less you have to tweak that. And so then the software is trying to kind of bring down maybe some of the areas that are boomy, and they're just kind of trimming those down. And they're kind of like
15 dB null, it may be trying to fix 6, which is much, much more easily achievable. But remember that those things can be fixed not only with acoustic treatments, but positioning. So
100%.
maybe a position where your subwoofers are located. That's why the subwoofer crawl is so important. And I know that some of us are limited, like myself. Mine are in my wall. I'm just kind of stuck with where they are.
Sure.
So it's really important to consider speaker positioning, subwoofer positioning. Are my toe ends correct? Are my speakers angled the correct way towards the main listening position? Am I running into bad reflections? Do I need acoustic panels? Do I have a massive null because of something going on in my room? There's tons of stuff. But something else to consider is we all don't like the same thing. And I think you were going to allude to this with what you're bringing up for questions or statements for subwoofers.
Yeah.
So we're kind of all over the place here.
Yeah, sure. Yes. Some of these are saying, 6 to 8 dB. Now I know Tony, I think he runs his about 12, maybe more. And that's probably where this comment comes from. So Tony's setup is crazy. But what's interesting, even though he's running them hot, it's still incredibly balanced, at least to me. I mean, at no point do I ever go, man, I can't really hear the dialogue. Dialogue has no problem. I mean, you're hearing the Atmos, you're hearing the side surround, you're hearing his rear surround. I've been to his home theater twice, and still to this date, I know he's kind of like, not miffed is the word, but he saw my latest video, and I was talking about how This home theater that I recently did was truly, truly, it's like, to me, it's like an end game. And not that it's the perfect, but it's one that most people would be like, okay, yeah, I could easily enjoy that home theater and not have to upgrade anything, not feel like,
But
man,
what's the
if I
fun in
only
that?
had this. Dude, it's a fantastic setup. But the cool thing is that, both times that I've been to Tony's home theater, it's just incredibly well done. Like his Atmos, I want that. I like my Atmos, but I know his is on a whole new level. I mean, his is so detailed and so balanced. And part of that is because he's got matching speakers, for Atmos and I think the side surrounds and rear surrounds. And so mine aren't. I've got a cool, massive front sound stage, and I've got some nice clip speakers on the sidewalls, and then I've got some decent in-ceiling speakers, but they're not going to match to a 10-inch coaxial, or I think his are 8-inch. He had the older ones, the 8-inch versions. But as far as calibration, I know Tony spends a ton of time dialing in his system. I mean, you can't expect to buy the greatest equipment, buy the best speakers, have the crappiest room, and you're going to have an amazing experience. It just
He
isn't
spends
going to happen.
almost as much time on calibration as he does with cleaning his room.
I was about to say, he vacuums a lot, dude. A lot.
So
yeah,
somebody was giving Talent MDS a hard
Yeah.
time about not really liking all of the bass.
Mm.
Where did that go? Here we go. And teach their own. That's the beauty
100%.
of having your own space. Is you don't, and Youthman touched on this earlier, you don't have to worry about making your space for anybody else. If you're doing that, I think you're detracting from your own experience.
Yeah.
I mean, some speakers are much more conducive to everyone's listening experience than others. I mean, I'll be perfectly upfront with everybody, and I warn everybody when they come into my room. And Michael, you've been in my room. My room is very much a 1 or 2 seat theater. I mean, I have more seats than that, but because the speakers I chose, it's very much, and I'm going to say it, I don't think this of myself, but it's much more of a narcissistic theater because I'm really only worried about the main listening position.
I don't care about you or you. It's
anybody
me.
else. Like, I'm sorry, your experience may suck, but mine's great. That's all that matters. Because I built it for me. And the experience, like if I watch something with my wife, she gets the same experience I do because we sit close enough. But I don't really care about the fringes of the couch. Some people do, but that's what I'm trying to go for. So people, I think, forget that they need to design things for themselves instead of what everybody else is going to think when they come into the room, or
holy cow,
keeping up with the Joneses. Is we got somebody in chat with that name, which happens quite often. In home theater, it's especially here in Kansas City. Oh, did you see what he got? And I think that's what makes Kansas City awesome. And it's one of the best places to learn home theater because everybody's constantly trying to do different stuff, which is fantastic. I love it. I'm so blessed that I found this community and that I've learned a ton, because I've only been in this hobby hardcore for 5 years. Can't believe it's been that long. But having the Kansas City community here, and you've got an awesome community down there in Florida.
Mine are just further apart, man. I'm having to drive 4 hours to go find these guys and 3 hours to go find this one.
Yeah, but Kansas is just a big sheet of nothing for the majority of the state. Most of us are up here in the northeast corner, and that's been fantastic. So segueing that, I think it's really important for people to try and listen to other people's theaters. Other people that have already done things, so that they're not reinventing the wheel. I think that's really important, because I was talking to somebody last night. He was interested in some speakers. We were having a phone call about stuff, and he said, because he only had a 7.1 or 7.2 channel theater, he didn't have any heights. And I said, I wouldn't just go buy heights. I would, before you go buy stuff, go listen to somebody's theater, because you may not even like heights. You may think this is just a gimmick, which there are people out there that don't like Atmos. I personally love it, but there are people that don't. And try and figure out how important height channels are to you before you go spend money on it, because you may find that it's not really important, and I could use that money and funnel it into a different part of my theater to be able to get a result that's going to be beneficial to me, right?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to keep up with everybody else or make everybody else's listening experience better when they come over, how often they do.
Yeah.
So I just really think people need to try before they buy. I think that's really
Sure.
important. People have a tendency, and trying home theater equipment can be very hard.
Yep.
We're all
It is.
spread out. There's tons of different equipment out there, and most companies, most resellers don't have it. So being
Yeah.
able to try what you think you may like can be very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Sometimes you may buy something and be like, man, this is supposed to be awesome, and I just don't like it. And you feel like you're stuck with it.
Yeah. And I think kind of, again, going back to what we're talking about, use what you have first. Do, make the room itself the best that you can get. Then if you're still lacking bass, and get some tools, get something like it took me many years before I even invested in $100 or not RAW, but a mini DSP UMic
Mhm.
1. Okay. So I'm thinking, man, why do I need $100 mic? I got one that came with Odyssey, this little plastic piece of junk, and
Why do
but
I
the
need
reality,
anything more?
yeah, but the reality, and I guess in my brain, I didn't want to spend money just so I could see the issues in my room, and then now I've got to figure out a way to
Mhm.
fix that.
That's a good. I think that's a really important thing to say. Is we have a tendency as people and as humans to not want to expose ourselves to the issues that may
Yeah.
be present.
Yeah. But what I found with mine, kind of going back to calibration is everything, and I'm not an expert by any means. I mean, if you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you'll realize I don't ever claim to, like, when I was up in Kansas City hanging out with you and the others, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, and I'm totally okay with that. I love learning from you guys. I love being around other people that know more about calibration. Like Tony, man, he's taught me a whole bunch about calibration. And I'm watching him physically dial into my room and remotely, and he's going through my mini DSP, and I did an okay job with it, but he took it to the next level. I'm like, dude, how'd you know to do that? And it's because of repetition. It's because he's done this over and over and over for himself and for his friends and things. And so it's one of those things that something as simple as a calibration microphone and a mini DSP did tremendous wonders in my room. Areas that were kind of, I'm just going to say it, broken because of acoustics. And part of that could be because I've got both my subwoofers behind a screen. That might not be ideal, but it's what I have to work with. I don't have a big room to work with. My floor space, I mean, I technically, my room is 13 by 19, but my front cabinet is 4 feet thick because I knew I had big La Scalas and I needed to accommodate those. And I wanted to always have, plenty of space back there. No matter what I upgraded to, it pretty much fit those speakers. And so I built that intentionally, but I knew that was going to eat up 4 feet of my floor space. So now I'm effectively, I'm down to 15 feet deep by 13 feet wide. That's not a big room as far as the floor space.
What subs do you have?
So I have RS2s, which are JTR. So that's dual 18s in a sealed cabinet. And some guys, they say, well, why didn't you go with the 4000 ULF, which that's the big mama jama.
Because they're enormous.
Number one, it's too deep for my room. So as far as the cabinet, I wouldn't be able to close my screen. I'd always have to, leave it open. But the other thing is I don't need the extra output, I mean, my room isn't massive. And so having 4 18s is an insane experience. And I'm getting flat down to 5 hertz. I mean, what else do I need? I mean, I don't need 2 hertz. I don't need 175 decibels, I'm doing okay. I'm not lacking by any means. And so that's worked out great for me.
Well, I asked that question because Fred215 says, I just ordered 2 JTR RS1s for a 12 by 18 room, and I think that's going to suit you really well.
Dude, I think it's phenomenal, dude. Absolutely, Fred. I don't think that's overkill at all. And I'm one of the guys, while Ryan works on his camera feed, I'm one of those guys that really believes that there really isn't a thing as overkill. It's all about calibration. It's what we've been talking about tonight. Just because you have massive subwoofers and the capability of hitting 148 decibels doesn't mean that that's where you leave the volume. you dial it down. And so you make it match the rest of your speakers so that it's blended, so that when you turn off your subwoofers, that's when you notice them the most. I was like, whoa, we're seriously gone. Like something's missing here. But when you turn them on, it's just a nice experience.
Yeah.
And that's going to give you so much headroom. You're going to be hitting easily 10. I mean, they're tuned to 10 hertz.
Yep.
And the only difference between the RS1, for the most part, the RS1 versus the RS2s that I have, is you're going to have a little bit less output, but you don't have a massive room. So I don't think
double the drivers. It's what, 3 dB?
Yeah. So it's not a huge difference. So I think you're going to be fine, dude. I think you're going to love them. You're going to get tight, clean bass. You're going to dig super deep.
Yeah.
Just curious. Let me know in the chat. What are you upgrading from? Just curious. And I'm a big fan. There's a lot of people that say, oh, there's not really that much content that's really low.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I would disagree with that.
I think a lot of people think that because they've never experienced a system that's able to do it. People are saying, "Oh, it's my wife trying to kick me off the screen."
That's awesome, dude.
So we'll just have to go black here for a little bit.
It's all good,
man. But the other benefit to having subs that are probably too big for your room, and even speakers that are more capable for your room, is you don't run into distortion.
100%.
Overdriving the speaker. If the subwoofer, the speaker is capable of handling more, you're not going to get distortion caused by the speaker. You may get it from your amplifier, but you're not going to get it from anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's really important. Dual rhythmic 18s would also be fantastic, as Grace.
Oh, heck yeah.
Anything that's going to be in that realm or in that category.
Yeah.
Is going to be great. And for us, like I have two JTL 4000 ULFs, and then I have a RS1 as a near field.
Yeah.
Those subs aren't turned up at all. I would rip my room apart if I turned them up to what they're capable of.
Your room will be tapping out, man. Like I give,
I have foundation problems, but I got them because I wanted something that I'd never have to replace, and I'm not going to.
Yeah. Super cool, man. Yeah. So Salk actually works for JTR. And so he says, man, the RS1s, RS2s, they're going to vibrate the room. I mean, they're massive. They're incredible subwoofers for sure.
Yep.
So Youth Man knows everything. Not even close, brother. Not even close.
Say that people have a tendency, and I get this from people from time to time, like, man, you know so much. Well, people know different things in different areas. So I think it's just where your experience lies. And I can almost guarantee that somebody's going to know far more than I am in some other part of life. And people have a tendency to, I think, get down on themselves for not knowing everything.
Sure.
And nobody knows everything. You're just you're meeting somebody maybe that knows more about something than you do in a particular category. And that's perfectly fine.
Sure. Grayson, answer your question. You're thinking about putting some acoustic panels that can mount on the bathroom closet door. So that's behind you. And, will that fix some standing waves? Don't know. The best thing to do is place them there. And then, and again, even if you don't buy acoustic panels, put something back there, get a blanket, fold it over so it's kind of thick, drape it over the door. That's going to stop that. And then especially, again, if you can have some kind of measurements, if you can measure the room with your like a calibration microphone. What is the other company that makes a really affordable one? It's not Behringer.
Mike? No,
I'm not sure. No, Dayton Audio. I think Dayton Audio makes one. So it's like $80. The U-Mic one I think is about 110, maybe 120. And so, but get one of those, and that way you can take a measurement before, put the blanket up there, take a measurement afterward, and you'll know, okay, is this helping my room? And then if it helps your room, now figure out, okay, what kind of acoustic panel can I buy to put there that looks good, that functions well, and then go from there. And so there's a lot of resources out there, but really it's hard to tell just by, I mean, I don't think anybody on this planet is going to be able to say, yeah, you'll fix your null if you put a blanket there, if you put an acoustic panel there, I mean, maybe there's some software that could tell you that, but
back there and see if you clap, if you get some reflections off of that point. I get you probably
well,
will.
If it's a hard surface, he definitely will. So,
so the acoustic panels are probably going to help. The other thing to check is, are you getting more of a like a bass overload in that area? Oh, my camera went down again. I give up. We're just going to
That's
watch.
all good, man. That's all good, man. We're at an hour. We're going to try to keep these to right at an hour so that, you know, we value your time. I mean, of course, me and Ryan can talk all day.
We've done it.
Yeah, for sure. Stay up till 3, 4 in the morning. We're like, okay, we got to get up at 6. We probably need to get to bed because we got more stuff to do tomorrow, man. So
I do have a question for everybody in chat. What would people think if we opened up an online segment of MWAVE? Would people be interested in that? Because we're broaching the vendors and the companies to do seminars, to talk about different topics, to talk about different things in the community. Like, for instance, I was talking to Richard from MadVR about this, and I think people would be very interested to hear what makes MadVR's DTM different. Not necessarily better, but what makes it different, and how does it function in a sense? What is it doing? What is NLS? What are these different things that these companies and these toys that we have interest in bring to the table? Or say from Martin Logan, what is the history of their company? Or even JTR RTJ, what is the history? Where did they come from? Why a horn driver? Why these certain choices in their speakers and in their hardware? Why were those things chosen? I know I have an interest in it, but I'd be interested to see if anyone else would have an interest in that.
Sure. Because there's definitely some technical side. There's some logistics of that. I mean, there's only 2 of us, me and Ryan. And so we're going to be pretty busy doing things, but trying to figure out, okay, if I were to do some live streams, if we were to do some interviews with these brands, would that be something that you would be interested in doing it if we're able to offer that virtually? Because we realize not everybody's going to be able to make the trip out to Kansas. You know, I'll be honest, that was the main reason why I've never been to CEDIA. I've never been to CES, is because, okay, those are way out, several, states away. I'd have to take off work. I've got to pay the expense to fly out there. Then I've got hotel, I've got Uber or whatever, all those things. That adds up. Even if the ticket itself isn't that much, getting there and the travel there, we realize it adds up. And it wasn't until I made the jump to do this full time that I was prepared to go to things like CEDIA. And then of course COVID hit and kind of canceled all those plans until this year, but I'll be going in September. So I'm super pumped about that. But we are looking at options of, and what kind of things could we add that, you would find value. Now, of course, we can't live stream it, the whole day. It just physically isn't possible for us because I'll have responsibilities. Ryan's going to have responsibilities. But I think there's definitely some scheduling times that we can say, okay, from this time to this time, we'll be doing a live stream, or from this time to this time, we'll have a representative. Maybe we'll get Tony on kind of a chat kind of like this and set up a time that he can talk about what is RTJ, because a lot of people don't even know. They're like, who is RTJ? What is RTJ? And yeah, and maybe we can talk to him about, what are some things that you've done even in your own home theater that have made the most impact, so those types of things. So if that's of value to you, if that would, what are those headphones? You're talking about these? These are nothing fancy. If you're asking me, I mean, legit, these are super, super cheap. We're talking $35. So I don't have the fancy Focal headphones or anything.
And what you said about having people like Tony on about why he made the decisions he did in his home theater and stuff, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with people not having to know everything about everything. If you can learn and not have to reinvent the wheel by people that have already gone down the rabbit hole, and you don't have to do it yourself, that is a vast importance and a huge value to a lot of people. It would be to me. I wish I would have known people before. I walked over to Jonathan's to see his theater, and then I had already bought Rel 212 SEs, and then as soon as I walked out of Jonathan's theater, I just went, crap.
That's hilarious.
I got something else. And I think it's really important, and I said this earlier, that people experience things before they make purchasing decisions. talk to people before they make those decisions, because
Yeah.
you may find that the decision you end up making, if you don't talk to people and learn from others before you go down that path, because I've been there, I've done it.
Sure.
It's not worth it. I think it saves a lot of people a lot of heartache and a lot of time and money in the process.
Yeah, Little Wiki One, you got a great thought here. An interview maybe with JTR on the design process and driver selection would be cool. So Tony's going to be there. Hopefully Jeff will be there as well. So maybe think about that. That might be something that we could include in there and kind of give you some insight to JTR, the company, the brand, and what goes into that. So definitely, and Tony, too kind. He's probably being sarcastic here, but man, it was totally cool to have an opportunity to hear his setup and Ryan's setup and Jonathan's setup. And man, there were so many people during the Kansas City trip that I made, and also the Wisconsin, Illinois trip. Just some super great dudes, man. Anytime that you have the opportunity to go hear somebody else's home theater, maybe you see them in a Facebook group and you find out, hey, they're even a couple hours away, man, go check it out. You're gonna make a friendship. You're probably gonna learn something while you're there. You're gonna have an experience with some brands that maybe you're not familiar with. Maybe they've got something totally different than you. Maybe they got a JBL setup, or maybe they've got some focals, or maybe they have some rhythmic subwoofers. And so go and check those out if you're able to do that. And I know it's not always possible, but the more you can do that, man, the better. And you'll figure out what you like and what sound you're going for, and have a better appreciation for the hobby as a whole, and really just become a better enthusiast, I think, as a result of it.
Yeah. Well, I know I myself am totally open to allowing other people to come into the theater. I do it all the time. I actually have it set up in my basement. For full transparency, I'm a dealer, so I do sell this stuff. Yeah. But I have a setup in my basement with, I think I have 6 different speakers now down there for people to A/B comparison, and I can fast switch between everything. Yeah. And I just want to share the experience and the knowledge and everything, and pass it on to other people, so they don't have to make the same mistakes that I made when I was going down this path and this journey, because sometimes it hurts. Yeah, sometimes it hurts a lot when you go in and you tell your wife, hey, I bought this, but I don't like it anymore, so I need to buy something else. And she's gotten used to it, but I'd rather just buy once.
Sure. Well, guys, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We're just over an hour again. We value your time. So thanks for hanging out with us, man. We are super pumped about MWAVE. If you aren't familiar with it, definitely check out the website, MidwestAVExperience.com. All the information's on there. The dates for the event will be July 22nd through the 24th. We might be able to offer some kind of like a virtual pass to be able to give you some access to that, to some interviews with some of the brands that are going to be there, as well as the event as a whole. So if you're interested in that, again, the best thing to do, go to the website, MidwestAVExperience.com, sign up for the newsletter. And that way, as soon as we have that available, then we can, kind of push that over to you and give you the details on that. Well, guys, I hope you have an incredible week. Ryan's going to work on getting his camera and his mic working a little bit better.
It's because my camera, I plugged it in and I didn't plug it into the wall.
Oh my goodness.
Why is it dying? It's not plugged into the wall. So.
That's hilarious. And I need to work on mine too. So hopefully over time, Youth Man's going to be working on the video. I've got this janky little Logitech webcam, and I really need to up my game on getting because I've even got a spare camera, another mirrorless Sony, or not Sony, but a Canon that I can use, my old camera, before I upgraded to the R6. So I need a better desk setup. The problem is I'm so limited in my little space right here. It's not conducive to that. So definitely we got some folks over here saying, please live stream MWAVE.
Try.
We'll look at what it's going to take to do that. We would love to be able to offer that to you, John, because again, we know that not everybody can make it out. But again, we're definitely not going to be able to live stream like the entire day, Saturday, and then all day Sunday and Friday night. So
Ryan, if I can get people to help with the demos and stuff,
Okay.
I've done streaming to a point where I've
I
talked
can't
for
imagine.
6 and 8 hours a day,
Wow.
nonstop with my flight sim stuff. I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with it, but like Michael said, we've got to get the other parts covered.
Yeah.
If that is even going to be a possibility on the table.
One thing at a time. Yep.
Yeah. So we'll try, but
Yeah.
no guarantees.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, Fred, it's not the desk so much. Part of this is just, I mean, let's face it. Here, I'll even show you. So I'm in a really open environment here, you know? So it's like, glad my wife's in a robe.
She was blurry.
Yeah. A lot of bokeh back there, but we're in the front office. And that's why, like right here, you can see every time my kids walk in the doors, like, they come walking in, or my daughter, she's walking back here because her bedroom's around the corner. So it's definitely not ideal for live streaming. So, but I'll be working on that hopefully pretty soon. We've thought about maybe even kind of sectioning off a space in our bedroom. We've got a little area over where Jessica has her office, and she's like, man, we could wall that off and that could be your own little place. And so one thing at a time, man. So, but definitely, man. So guys, appreciate your time. Hope you have an incredible week. I've got a new home theater tour that'll be launching this Wednesday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So be prepared for that. It's definitely more on the affordable side. The last one was basically like, holy cow. I mean, he's got
in your garage in a 38-foot boat in there.
Yeah. I mean,
that was impressive.
He was so cool though, man. I mean, Mike is such a humble dude. We got a beautiful setup. If you haven't seen that video, definitely head over to the to my channel. Check that out. It's just a beautiful setup, but he was involved in every aspect of it. And I thought that was so incredible to me, that he didn't this wasn't a blank check kind of home theater where you just say, hey, build me something cool and I'll enjoy it. No, he designed this thing. I mean, literally in AutoCAD, he drew it up and told the builder, here's what I want. Here's where I want the studs. Here's what I want. Here's what here's how I want to contain the sound. And so he was active in all of that. So, but definitely check out that video. And it's crazy because there's a lot of people that are checking out the video. Where's it at right now? It is.
While you're looking for that,
Yeah.
Jonathan says, think about hiring somebody. I don't know that I like the idea of, I've always been very hesitant about giving somebody else control over what is going to be showcased, especially when there's sponsors involved.
Yeah.
However, if somebody would be interested in helping us with some of the demos, that could free up some time for us to be able to do that. And that would be hugely helpful because, like, for the speaker stuff, one of the things that has to happen there is being able to, and then we'll call it good after this. One of the things that has to happen there is switching different amplifiers, cables, and speakers through a switching system that we've got going using knife switches and all channel stereo on the Storm Audio. So it's possible, but as of right now, we do have some volunteers.
Yeah.
As of right now, most of the undertaking is Michael and myself, which is fine. It's perfectly fine. But for growth like that, if people do want to see an online element, we're just going to need some help in order to make that happen.
Yeah. One step at a time. My plan and our plan is every year we just want to make it better and better. So it was cool. We were talking with one brand not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and he told us, he said, guys, I'm excited for you. I really, really am. He said, this is something that nobody's doing this. And so in a way, I mean, we're definitely taking a step of faith. Are people going to be interested? Are people going to be willing to travel? We don't know. I mean, we've got some definitely. Are we going to be in the black when we get done with this? We hope so. We hope so. I mean, that's what we're hoping. I mean, I don't want to be in the red doing this. I mean, we're spending months and months. I mean, I'm working and I know Ryan's working on his stuff. I've got my responsibilities, and I've literally almost every day I've been working on different things, reaching out to brands, talking on Zoom calls, following up emails, all this stuff, building the website, creating graphics, working with the giveaways. There's a ton of work that goes into putting on.
I would be happy if we just broke even.
Yeah, so I would love to at least have a little bit of something. That would be great. But yeah, absolutely. If we break even, man, that would be, I don't want to be in the negative. That would be like
No.
Oh goodness.
That
But
would
I don't think
that
we
would
will.
not be
I think we're gonna be
advantageous
good.
for my wife allowing me to do this again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
hopefully we can make it there.
yeah,
I think
man. But ultimately, we just want to have fun. We really do. We want to create a community. We want to create an event that you guys look forward to every year. And maybe you can't make it out this year, but maybe you're like, you know what, that looked awesome, and I was a part of the virtual event. And man, next year I'm gonna schedule time off, and I'm gonna put aside some money, and I'm gonna fly out there. I'm gonna make the drive, and I want to be a part of that because that looks really, really interesting. And so that's really what our heart is behind this.
growth and sharing with the
Mhm.
community.
Yeah. And give you some really cool opportunities. Well, Ryan, appreciate you, brother. Get your webcam fixed, plug it in next time.
We gotta plug it in.
Yeah.
Don't
All right,
be
guys.
nervous next time is key.
Yep. So we'll kind of keep you up to date. We might be able to do this Sunday evenings. We're not sure. Let us know down in the comments. That'll probably be the best thing. Like, what kind of day works out great for you guys? I mean, is there a preferred day, time?
I'd like to know topics that you may like cover.
Yeah.
At
So
a high
definitely.
level. I mean, I don't think we're going to go into huge
Sure.
detail, but like
Yeah.
today, calibration and things you can
Yeah.
think about
Sure.
other than buying new equipment.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, have a great week. We'll catch you in the next broadcast. Have a good one.
See you guys later.